Right now, you're standing in the middle of your life, and you're either building a breakthrough or you're building regret. Welcome to Season 3 of the Your Fitness Chick podcast. I'm Abby, fitness coach, mindset shifter, and author of Your Breakthrough Era, Unstoppable Starts Here, the audiobook to finally help you get out of your own way and live like you mean it. Season 3 of Your Fitness Chick isn't about motivation. It's about taking action. It's about building real strength, real confidence, real discipline, inside and out. Every Tuesday, I'll give you the tools to break through the excuses, the fear, the self-doubt, and step into the life you were built for. Because you don't get unlimited chances. You get this one life. And it's happening right now, whether you're ready or not. New episodes drop every Tuesday. This is Your Breakthrough Era, and it starts now. Welcome to the Your Fitness Chick podcast. Become your best self. I'm Abby, your fitness chick, and today I am so excited to have a very special guest that I'm going to introduce you to in just 1 second. But this is episode 2 of season 3. And this season, I wanted to focus on all the different topics that make up my audiobook that just released last month called Your Breakthrough Era, Unstoppable Starts Here. I'll put the link in the show notes for how you can get instant access to that. And so I sent my guest, Charles, a couple of options to choose from which topics, because he's super awesome. And there was a lot of them that would fit him. And he selected unlocking mental toughness and building a lifestyle of disciplined habits. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So without any further ado, I want to welcome my awesome guest, Charles Holbrook. Am I saying your last name right? Charles Holbrook.
That's right. That's right. I have a hard time saying my last name. So it's like you're coughing up something. Holbrook, so yeah, it's weird.
Well,
but no, hi.
Well, welcome. And it could be worse. You could be married multiple times like I am, and I have multiple last names.
Oh, so. Lots of hyphens. Yeah, lots of dashes. That's fun.
Yeah, I need to do something about that. I need to lose some of those. But anyway, that's a whole nother episode. So welcome. I'm so glad to have you on today. Like many of my guests, you actually, somehow we became Facebook friends, and we've been Facebook friends for a while now. Not sure how long. But have really watched a lot of your stuff. You said you were a fan of mine. I'm equally a fan of yours too. You post some really inspiring stuff, some super inspiring stuff. And I think one of the things I admire most about you, Charles, do you like Charlie or Charles better?
Charlie makes me sound younger.
Okay. Okay, Charlie. So, but one of the things, Charlie, that I admire the most about you is your vulnerability and your transparency about some of the challenges that you faced in your life. And I've identified with those because I myself I had challenges with some of the same issues as you. So before we dive in to maybe some fun questions here, just tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Charlie. I'm the owner of Superior Electric and Signs. That takes up quite a bulk of what I do. But try to sprinkle in my hobbies. I love playing guitar mediocrely, and I love running. I am doing a couple marathons this year. And I am now loving playing tennis. So I'm going to try to become the next Roger Federer at the age of 36, 37. So we're going to see where that goes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I know it's funny. Like I have my guys, I have a crew and they're out there working while I'm out there training. So I try not to post too much. They're like, we're out. This is what we're paying for, whatever. But, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, no, I just sprinkle in a bunch of other hobbies with, my profession.
And you're into fitness too, because I know you post a lot of stuff about your fitness stuff that you do, and you're in great shape. So I would think with your job, you kind of have to be, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, you don't have a choice. You're up in the attics, sweating a lot. So you try to pack it on as much as you can, but especially now, seems like summer's here. So more calories, the better.
That's right, because you're going to sweat those
Mm,
puppies out. All right,
hmm
so Charlie, let's dive into it. So let's start talking about mental toughness, because I think that's something that so many people struggle with. I think
hmm
there's so many different ways we could go with this topic.
hmm
But we know from your Facebook postings that you have struggled with some addictions in the past.
hmm
I myself have struggled just as equally. So I high
hmm
five you on overcoming that, because that's not an easy thing to do. But
Yep.
let's start with this. How would you describe the version of yourself before sobriety? And what was life like mentally, emotionally, and physically for you?
Well, life was less than ideal. Um, I mean, I was constantly like out there searching for external things to make me happy. Rather it
Mhm.
be food, alcohol, fake friends, people like me still drinking and like, I would say enabling that lifestyle. And like mentally, eventually, I was losing grip with reality. I was becoming pretty much schizophrenic. I would have voices in my head, constantly battling with myself. And emotionally, I was constantly angry, constantly anxious, wasn't able to deal with social settings without that assistance. And physically, I had a fatty liver, so
Mm.
it was so big that it was pushing up on my lungs, and I would be going to doctors a lot, and I just like they'll ask you how much do you drink, and like, a couple here and there, but basically I was telling them do what you got to do so I can keep doing this thing. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Now, how old are you?
I am 36.
So you're still a little spring chicken. I know we've talked about that before.
You're right. Yeah.
So you're still really young. So how long ago
Mm-hmm.
was this kind of awareness that some things had to change?
Uh, so I got sober in 2020, right in the middle of the COVID. But obviously there was a decade of me over abusing it, but there was probably a good 3 year gap of trying to quit and knowing that this is a bad thing. I need to change. So yeah,
Mhm.
probably about a 3 year gap of trying and failing until something clicked.
And what was that something?
Uh, so the last time I ever drank, um, and I would call this my rock bottom. Everybody's rock bottom's different.
Mhm.
I had a lot of events happen. So I got 3 DUIs. I attempted suicide, and you would think, okay, well that's rock bottom, being Baker acted, and nope,
Mhm.
still kept doing it. Still kept doing it.
Mhm.
Um, until one day, my stepdaughter, I I was up to my usual things, lying about drinking, still doing it, thinking everything's fine until I saw the tears in her eyes, and I never thought of myself of much of anything. I just living my life, doing what I wanted, and then she came up to me. She told me, she goes, "It hurts me every time you do this. You're the closest thing to a father I ever had." And
Mm.
I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. Whatever it takes. So that was the
Wow.
last time I ever did it.
And how old was she at that time?
Uh, Probably 21. Yeah. So she's a little bit older.
Yeah.
But yeah, about that.
Okay.
Mm,
So I definitely agree with you on that. Everybody does have a different interpretation of rock bottom, and sometimes even hitting rock bottom isn't deep enough for people to wake themselves up. They
mm,
say if you can look up, you can get up. But that's not always
Yep.
necessarily true. Even
Hmm.
as bad as you want it, when something has its claws in you pretty deep with, that addictive trait. Do you have a
Hmm.
history of alcoholism in your family or any other addiction issues from previous
Yeah,
generations you know of?
yeah, my father, he's a pretty big addict. Um, so my mother had to deal with him and then deal with me. But he's been, you know, for the most part soberish. He's been on the right track. Like ever since he had a grandchild, that's what changed him.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you feel about it, but it's like watching that, him spoiling my nephew quite a bit. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
where was all this? Like, that would have been nice to have. But that's the typical grandparent role, right? So
Yeah.
but no, he's come a long way, and me and him, are like this now. So
Mm.
I, which you wouldn't think, because I remember the time I moved out of my house when I graduated high school, and me and him, we couldn't emotionally connect because it's just like it's not the guy thing. So
Right.
he was tearing up when I was moving out, and he's like, if you need anything, call me. And then you turn away before, I caught him. So I'm like, okay, see you, dad, but yeah.
Aw. So, I think when people are trying to kind of get out of their own way, if
Mm,
you will, there's a lot of different formulas for people that they utilize to do that, and it's different for everybody because
yep. Yeah.
it's so vast.
Hmm.
But when you're trying to get out of your own way and stop the destructive path and the self-sabotage, what were 3 things that you clung to that you really feel were the things that pulled you from the pit?
Um, like pulled me from the darkness, I guess you would
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say definitely community. I never thought community was for me or group things were for me. I was like, I go to therapy and I'm spending a ton of money on that, thinking, well, this is it. Um, until one day it was pretty much do or die day, and I went to the nearest first meeting that I could go to at the time, and it was a place called Royal Shell, and it's a retirement community down here. And this was before
Mhm.
COVID, and everybody's sharing, but I didn't really say anything. But at the end of the meeting, this older lady, she comes up to me and she makes a beeline and she just gives me this biggest hug, and
Aw.
I'm like, and I break down and I'm like,
Aw.
I need this. So that's definitely one. And I would say, because AA got me into the steps of believing in a higher power, and then
Mhm.
got me going to church. And so a lot of that, when I would find myself in a dark place or find scripture, um, and I'm also a history buff too, so like trying to learn all these things, it's just hand in hand. So
Mhm.
that definitely helped. And then yeah, just really being thankful. Like every day, I would do 5 things or pick 5 things to be grateful for. And it's yeah, and at first when you're sober, you're like, this is hard. Like, how do I pick 5 things? But as you do it more often, you're like, there's so many little things you could be thankful for. The
Yeah.
breath in my lungs, my lawn guy mowing my lawn. Like, there's so many things. I ain't
Yeah.
doing it. There ain't no way I'm doing it. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think gratitude is a huge thing for a lot of people. And when you're in the pit, when you're in depression, when you're in a dark, dark place, sometimes it is really hard to get that lasso out, to find something to rope in to say, yeah, I'm grateful for that. Because
Hmm.
it's kind of like misery loves company. Like even when you're in that darkness, I don't know about you, but I didn't even want to listen to positive stuff. I was like, I don't even
Hmm.
want to hear that. I love all
Yeah.
that stuff now. I've always been that way. But when you're in the thick
Yeah.
of it, it
Yeah.
really takes something pretty powerful, call it God, higher source, universe, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. But I feel that that truly, makes you kind of get awoke to the fact that there is so much stuff to be grateful for. And when you get out of it, when you actually get on the other side, that's when gratitude just becomes so natural, because you're just so grateful to be out of it and to have escaped it, right?
Yeah. And like what you were saying on you didn't want to hear the positive stuff. Like I remember all the cheesy things like let go, let God, like or one day at a time, wah, wah, like who cares? But when you actually dive into the specifics of what those things actually mean, like spiritually, and then you're like, there's a reason why these things are cliche, is because it's true. You know, they work, you know, one day at a time. Don't worry about tomorrow, next week. Just you got today. That's all we all have. We don't know what could happen tomorrow. Heck, we don't know what's going to happen 6 hours from now. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when you are working your way through it, you know, I think that habits become a foundation for that. And so since we're talking about building a lifestyle of disciplined habits, what was one of the first habits? I mean, obviously we talked about gratitude and stuff like that, but what was the first habit you committed to in your sobriety journey, and how did you stay consistent with it even when the motivation faded and when you didn't feel like it?
Sure. So my sponsor at the time, she said, stay busy, because if you have a moment to sit still, you're going to start thinking, and you're going to start thinking about the drink. Then you're going to start thinking about conniving your way, how you're going to do the drink. Because every time I would drink and you wake up the next day with regret and stuff, you have like this still so small moment of clarity. But I would have to overcome that and plan my way before that other part of me wants to do all these other bad things. So I would stay busy. So I would actually write down all the things I want to get better at. So I had like this big notebook. I'm like, what could I get better at? Obviously fitness, nutrition. I lose weight. I weighed 260 pounds with that big old liver sitting on top of my lungs. So I would do like 2-a-days, that's why I love running so much, because it was during COVID. There was no gyms. So I had to get a jump rope, and I remember going to Target and there was no weights. It was like, okay, now everybody wants to work out. So all of a sudden, so there's no weight. So you're getting like scraps of like missed weights or whatever. But you get, and all these other mechanisms of like, the slider stuff and like, I don't know, whatever was left, you're just trying to get something. So, but running, you could run anywhere, you could run anytime. And so I was doing that, and then doing plyometrics and stuff. So definitely staying busy doing that. And then I would also say, learn another language, get better at guitar, floss my teeth, like little things. Yeah. But how I stayed consistent was that if I didn't, I was going to die. So it was life or death if I didn't stay busy. So, yeah.
Yeah. And stay busy in a good way to better yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At this time, because COVID obviously was a dark time for a lot of people. I think alcohol consumption was up substantially. So although the weights were getting sold out at Target, the liquor store shelves were getting pretty gosh darn empty too. Because I know for a fact that's all I did during COVID was party like a rock star. So to be able to do that during a time like that in history of the world, that has to say a lot about it too. I mean, that's a big hurdle of time to stay busy when there's nothing opened and there's nothing to do except sit with your feelings.
Yeah, because like that was the dream. Like that was what I wanted. Like when I in the peak of my alcoholism, I wanted everybody to feel miserable like me. I wanted everybody to drink at home like I did, because it would make me feel better. I didn't want to be a loser. So when that happened, I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this at this time. This is this is what I would love for everybody to stay at home just like me. So yeah,
Well, misery loves company.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and it became quite the norm thing,
Hmm.
and I think since we're on that topic, I mean, alcohol is it's so accepted by society, and it's almost
Yeah.
more accepted than if you say you don't want to drink. Then people are looking at you like, you got a problem? Like, what's wrong with
Mm-hmm.
you? Like, why don't you want to be like us?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's when you start shifting also who you're hanging out with. You have to, and the people that you are running with in your circle. So with you, did you find your friendship circle shifting, or did you get support from your family during this time, or what did that look like?
Yeah, very supportive. I'm very lucky in that aspect. Uh, my family, well, I mean, they saw it. Like, this guy's
Yeah.
got to change, and
Yeah.
if not, he's going to be in jail or dead.
Yeah.
So that I never really had any pushback from anybody because I think a
Mhm.
lot of people, more often than not, they were stuck in it too. So they'd
Yeah.
like to see that. I remember when I was stuck in it, I would see somebody getting sober. I'm like, that's what I want too. But
Mhm.
people won't say that all the time or won't admit it out loud. So, but I think even now, I think there's a big uptick in people veering away from booze at all.
Yeah.
So,
It's becoming kind of a cool thing to do.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because the thing I kind of compare it to is, back in the day, my grandma and grandpa, man, they started smoking cigarettes probably when they were like 10 freaking years old. I remember my grandma
mm-hmm.
telling me she'd sneak up in the attic and smoke cigarettes in the attic. That's real smart. And drink Coca-Cola. Remember when that's when it probably had cocaine in it. And
Oh yeah,
and
sure, yeah.
and
Why'd they
you
take
know,
that out? I don't understand.
I don't know. They don't like us to have
No,
any fun. But
no.
anyway, like back in the
Mm-mm,
day, smoking was cool, right? But
mm-mm,
then as time
mm-mm.
progressed and we realized how horrible it is for you, now a lot of people look at people who smoke and it's like kind of dirty, like, ooh, that's such a bad habit. And although I
Right.
think we're
Yeah.
far, far from coming to that same viewpoint with alcohol, I think we're headed that way a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And when that happens too, people are looking for alternatives um, to feel good too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a few. I guess you would say better option, but I mean, go figure. You take poison and you don't feel great afterwards. It's about time. Like, we should veer away from that. Like, it doesn't make you feel great. If it does make you feel good, it's for like a very small moment, and
Yeah.
you feel worse 2 days after. So,
Yeah. Or
mm,
longer. When you get older, it's like, oh my God, I'm out for a week. But
yeah.
they used to say that even the red wine, like a couple glasses of red wine was good for you. And now they've actually even taken that off the table. So
Yeah, so that's zero. Yeah. Like, if you
none.
want the benefits from juice, then just drink juice. Like, there's
That's
better
right.
juices out there.
For sure. For sure.
Mm,
And one of the things too is that I think you just have to get to the point where y- y- when you get angry and when you get anxious, it's really at yourself, right?
hmm
Because
hmm
I'm doing this to myself. And even
Yeah.
though it's an addiction, it's a disease, really.
hmm
Um, in a way, it's just like, why can't I be stronger? Why can't I get a grip on this? And when you
hmm
finally do, like you have done, I mean, it'll be something that'll probably be a little monkey on your shoulder for your life, right?
hmm Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how do you navigate your mind on the days that when you get those triggers or when you get those
hmm
feelings to try to get pulled back into those old patterns? What do you do?
So they don't happen as much as they used to, obviously, but they do happen
Mhm,
unexpectedly.
mhm,
And what I would do before, which I will do now, is I will say the Serenity's Prayer. I will
mm,
say it 20 times, 30 times, as much as it takes to relieve that tension a little bit. And if that doesn't work, which often doesn't, I would listen to the song Aqueous Transmission by Incubus. I don't know if you ever heard it, but
I probably haven't. I just don't realize the name of it.
Yep, it starts with like I always had this fascination with Japan, and it has like this Japan kind of feel to where it's like a guitar, and Boyd, he would sing about floating down a river, laying face up on the floor from my vessel, my oars freed from their holes long ago. So it paints a picture of letting go of everything, just letting life take you down this river. There's nothing you can do. Quit fighting the current. So I'm laying up, looking at the stars, and just letting go. Like I love that song, and it puts me in a whole different place. It's either that or I like look at like space views and seeing how small my problems are. When you look at the whole world, you're like, why am I mad about this? You know? So, yeah.
I think that's awesome. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that there was a person, so you've been going through this journey for about 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since COVID, so about 5 years. Was there one person that stood out to you during this 5-year time frame that really anchored you in?
It's definitely a collective, never one person. It's everybody has a hand in somebody's life, and for anybody to say they did something on their own, and in my opinion, don't give credit to God. I have a bone to pick with that because somebody helped you somehow. Somebody influenced, even if it's negatively, somebody influenced you to go the opposite way. So yeah, there's way too many things that have that influence. Because I mean, like even when I got sober, I read a lot of I say a lot of books, but 3 books to me is a lot. I read The Easy Way by Alan Carr. That helped reform my way of thinking about alcohol. I read the big book, and I read Atomic Habits, and I also read the Silmarillion, which is Lord of the Rings, but that's just fun. But like a lot of those self-help books, man, they really really rewired my way of thinking, and it made the ride a lot easier. So yeah, it's hard to credit one person. It's definitely a collective.
Right. And I really like the fact that you brought up the fact that even the negative people and the disappointments and things like that it's your perspective and how you take it. Right. And turn it into fuel to help you.
Yep.
So, when I kind of hit my rock bottom, I was just searching so fervently. Like I just was like, I've got to find the answer. I've got to save myself. I've got to get myself out of this. And I was at Barnes and Noble's every freaking weekend. I went every weekend because I live right by it. And I would pick up I'd be like, oh, like, yeah, like that speaks to me. That speaks to me. That speaks to me. And I would literally have like a pile of 20 books. This went on for about 3 months. Every Sunday I was at Barnes and Noble. And one day and then I would sit down and I would sort out and I would purchase like 7 at a time. And, one time this lady that works there, she came up to me and she's like, oh my gosh, I've noticed you here like all the time and you're buying all these books. You must be really working on a super big project. And I said, yeah, I am myself.
It is,
finding my way. And in fact, I was buying so many books, Charlie, that I would get to the bookstore. I'm like, do I already have this book? And I had to start taking pictures of the books that I had so that I would know, because I would just buy them and I would read them, but I couldn't read them fast enough, obviously. But
sure.
I think
are you a reader?
I love reading.
So you don't listen? You got to feel it?
I do both. I do both. I mean, with my schedule now, I mean, I'm working literally on average about 90 hours a week between my 2 jobs. So I do a lot of Audible stuff. Like on my way to work, I'm either listening to a podcast or an Audible book. And then now I've been missing my physical reading because I am old school. I like to hold the book. I like to underline. I like to highlight. And it's a ritual that I used to do every night before I went to bed. So I would read a chapter. So now I'm actually reading. I went to my bookshelves that I have like so many books still waiting on me. And I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? I'm going to start reading a chapter again every night before I go to bed.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and and I actually was guided to a book. I love Joel Osteen. I don't know if you know who
Oh yeah.
he is.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
love that man, and I have him on my TV all the time. But anyway, there was a book that I bought a long time ago. It's called It's Your Time. And
Mm.
I just started reading that a few nights ago. It's a very, very good book. And it's obviously a really good thing to read right before you go to bed to get your subconscious in the right place while you're sleeping. And
Really?
but I'm a huge reader, and I feel like books kind of saved me. I went to therapy, but for me, books, I just grasped onto that so much. I think that's why my heartstrings are so strong with them, because to me, I look at
Sure.
them like a saving grace.
Right.
And real quick, and
So.
then because I don't want to make this all about me, but we have so much in common, more than probably what you know, that it
Mhm.
was about a year or so after my dad died. And I had not been living my life the way I should be. I was in a really awful relationship and drinking way too much. And I had decided I was going to stop, at least get a grip on myself because it was out of control.
Mhm.
And I went to Barnes and Nobles, and I always beeline to the self-help section, you know.
Yep. Yep.
But this
Mhm.
particular day, I walked in and they had all like the newer releases up at the front. And the Barnes and Noble I go to, they have like a skylight. And this sounds cheesy, but I swear to God, this was my dad. There was a ray of light that was shining on this new release section. And I was like, I don't ever go over there. I wonder what's over there. Maybe I should visit that. Maybe this is a sign. And I go over
Mhm.
there and there's this book and it's called Euphoric. And it looks
Mm.
like the cover of designed by Lily Pulitzer. It's super bright and kind of hideous looking, but it drew my attention. And
Uh,
I flipped it over and it said how to ditch alcohol for 8 weeks and like reinvent yourself, blah, blah, blah. Well, at that point, I'd already stopped drinking for a while. And I was
right.
just like, okay, I'm gonna read this book. And it was such a great book. So Euphoric, great book to
Mhm.
recommend to people.
Sure.
And as I read it, I thought, oh my gosh, it made me just look at drinking so differently.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the more and more that I started talking to people, and I guess maybe that God aligned in my path, there's a lot of people
Mhm.
that struggle behind the scenes that you wouldn't know
Mhm.
with alcohol, because it's a
Mhm.
very affordable coping mechanism. It's legal.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
easy to get.
Social, socially
It's
acceptable.
socially acceptable, but
Mhm.
even like a handful of my fitness clients, they had a really hard time ditching that alcohol when we're trying to get them back on the fitness wagon. So I want to shift my
Mhm.
focus back away from me to you, but I just thought that kind of fit in pretty seamlessly with what we're talking about. And so that people understand that even though I'm your fitness chick, we all have issues, we all have challenges.
Mhm.
And so our intention today is just to help people, by exposing ourselves, kind of tattletaling on ourselves, that
Sure.
to let people know they're not alone and that there is hope to get help.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's no shame in it. It, and I'd like to touch on that. We celebrate people who do things on their own a little too much. I think we should celebrate equally people who seek help to
Mm,
achieve their goals. Like it should be more normalized. It should be just as cool because it, for one, makes it a lot easier, and two, it's like a circle of life kind of thing to where somebody feels good about helping you too.
right,
So it feeds itself. Being of
right.
service is such a wonderful thing. It feeds the
Yeah,
soul, in my
it
opinion.
does. It helps fill
Hmm.
you up. And I think that, if you're blessing other people, you're blessing yourself too. That shouldn't be your intention of
Hmm.
doing it. But, I know what
Sometimes
it feels
that's
like.
yeah.
Well, God, did you see that?
Yep, it's a byproduct. Yeah, it's definitely a byproduct.
But yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm letting people know. And I think that's why, too, that just like this trend with alcohol kind of getting tossed to the side a little bit, the trend with these self help books and all
Yes.
this that has become a movement really in the last, I
Hmm.
think, probably since COVID. with mindset shifting and rewiring your brain, and like stuff like Atomic Habits and podcasts that
Mm-hmm.
are offering positive, inspirational stuff and things like that. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think people want help. I think a lot of people just suffer in silence, and they do try to figure it out on their own. I'm kind of guilty of that, but there
Yeah.
is so much out there at our fingertips now if we look for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And because there's so many different perspectives. So the more you keep searching, you're going to find somebody that's going to relate to you and speak right to you. And that's what I remember is what a few of my first meetings, you start hearing all these stories and I'm like, how do they know what I went through? Like they have never met me but they're saying the same exact stories and saying the same exact things that I was thinking. So, but yeah, and the more we share about it, the better our chances are. And I'm sure you've seen it too, to where you have people reach out to you and people reach out to me and I'm like you would never have known. And
Yeah.
and at the same time, I'm like, you're asking for my advice? Like, do you know who I am?
Me in
like
trouble.
I
No,
just
I'm kidding.
ate 3 slices of pizza at 11 o'clock. Didn't make the best decision. So
Yeah, but
don't do what I do.
everything in moderation. You got to eat the pizza. Let me tell you, you got to eat that
Yeah, it's
pizza.
gonna go
Life's too
bad.
short.
Yeah, you don't let it go bad. I mean, that's a waste of money.
Life's too short. It is too
Mm-hmm.
short. Well, I love that. But yeah, and then I think it's great that you have been so super vulnerable. I mean, I think for a man, my dogs are going crazy over there. I think for a man, it's even more challenging because, men are supposed to be these tough guys and,
Mm-hmm.
don't expose my feelings and, that's sissy stuff
Mm-hmm.
and blah blah blah. But so I applaud you so much because I'm going to tell you, women want a man that's like you, that isn't is confident enough in themselves, even in their own challenges and obstacles, to expose themselves and emotionally be mature. What do they call it? Oh, emotionally intelligent.
Okay.
Um, and so I really applaud you for doing that. And hopefully you can influence some other men out there to know that it's okay, that, you
Thank
can be in touch with your feelings.
thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. Uh, because the journey, like you're gonna fail 9 times out of 10 or maybe 99 times out of 100.
Hmm.
That's the reality of it. I don't
Hmm.
want to put any fake crap I more or less put my challenges that I faced versus what I succeeded in. For one, that's feeding my pride and my ego if I do that. But two,
Hmm.
it's the majority of the time that I spent was failing and trying new things. And also failure isn't such a bad thing. You're gathering information. I remember seeing this before, is that you're just figuring out one more thing that didn't work. So
Right.
try again, you know.
Right.
So yeah.
100%. I'm really good at finding out all the wrong ways. I'm an expert. I'm an expert on that.
Sure.
Let me tell you.
Sure.
I don't
Yeah,
like to read directions. So when I'm trying to do stuff, I'll just figure it out. But I'm not going to watch a video that would probably take me 5 minutes. That would probably
yeah,
save me 3 hours of work. Cause I'm like, I'm not going to watch
sure.
the video. I'm going to just figure it out. So, and I
There's
always
hacks for
do.
everything.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's shift gears because we were talking about unlocking mental toughness and building a lifestyle discipline habit. So we focused at the first part here on the habits part.
Mm-hmm.
So mental toughness was thrown in there a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
what is one of the myths about being mentally strong that you'd love to bust right here, right now?
I think we already kind of touched on it, but that's yeah, that you don't have to do it alone. Mental toughness isn't being how good you are by yourself. It's how good we all can be together. Uh, so I'm a fan of David Goggins. I love
Love
those
him.
books. I read. I read them both and listened to them both. And
Yeah.
what better motivation on a treadmill or running outside when you're listening to this guy calling you a little B
Bitch.
word for complaining? Yeah. Like I remember this one time, it was like maybe before my knee surgery. I'm running out in the rain, Florida rain comes whenever it feels like. And I'm like, I wish it was raining harder, like I'm so into it. I'm so mad. I'm like, I just wish it was thundering. Like but there comes to a time where you got to be smart about it. You can't just brute force your way into things. You got to take the moment. Peace is so underrated, to actually sit in things. And I'm guilty of this too. Like sitting at a stoplight, got to do something, check your phone. No, sit in it. Just be patient. Don't always have to be doing everything all the time. So I
Mm.
think mental toughness has to, you got scales. You got to have balance too. You can't just brute force your way into, um, to all your goals.
Yeah. And it's hard to do though. I mean, it is because,
Mm-hmm.
you just described me. I'm like, I can't just, it's hard for me to just sit, like even if I'm
Yeah, it
standing in
is.
line at Publix, I'm like, oh, I could answer 2 emails right now. And, when you're trying to juggle as much as I'm trying to do, you do have to do some of that. But there is also
Sure.
something very strong that you said that sometimes by just getting a few minutes of clarity and peace will help you expedite
Oh yeah.
the to-do list better
Mm-hmm.
because you have
100%.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love
Yeah.
that. And I
Yeah. I
do
can't
love
tell you
David
how.
Goggins. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times where it's like you have epiphanies more often than if you're just trying to still do the quantity of things you're trying to do. So, yeah, you always think of a better way if you just give it time.
Right. Yeah. Um, I agree with you. And also sometimes too, if you're just standing in stillness, if you're out somewhere, you could look and observe and see something that could be impactful, and you could be missing it
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
your head's buried in your phone, or you could see
Hmm.
somebody who you could smile at and it would probably lift them up a little bit. So I am getting
Sure.
better at that. I really am getting better at it. But it's almost like
Hmm.
when you have that addictive like personality, it is really easy to get addicted to your phone and to get
Hmm.
addicted to social media and get addicted to busyness. And
Yep.
it's
Dopamine,
just the way
dopamine,
we're wired.
dopamine.
Correct.
Hmm.
That's so
Yeah,
true.
they got us.
They do. They really do. And some people, I don't
Mm.
know, I think they scroll all day long. I don't know. I mean, I used to do it. I post a
Hmm.
lot because Facebook pays me now. So I'm
Yeah.
obnoxious about
Well.
how much I post now. I'm like, I'm making money right now.
Yeah.
But
Right. Yeah.
it is easy to get sucked into it. And if you start scrolling, you go, holy crap, I was just on there for 45 minutes, if you
Hmm.
go and
Yeah,
bounce
I
between
turned
all the
that
different platforms.
notification off a long time ago. I was like, that
Oh,
screen
did
time
you?
thing, that's depressing. Yeah. Well, yeah, like you work on your phone. You don't want to see that number. Holy crap, that's a big
I
chunk.
know. But
Hmm.
it's good because I also know that the people who are telling me that they didn't have time to do their workouts this week, I'm like, go look at your phone. Like, how much time were you
Yeah,
on your
right.
phone this week?
Every time, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But I love David Goggins. I've read his book, Can't Hurt Me. I've been following him for years, the last few years, especially since he's been in
Mm.
the light. But I think Dr. Phil could help him a little. He needs a little
I
Dr. Phil in his life.
rather he would accept the help. That's another thing. I think they would have a pretty bad debate about things,
I
about
think so
philosophy.
too. I think so too.
Hmm.
I mean, there's no debating that he's a total badass, but there's obviously some
Hmm.
demons he still needs to work through a little bit, I think. But
Sure, sure.
I you can't
Hmm.
you can't help but respect the guy. My God, he's
Hmm. Yeah, I
unbelievable.
mean, there's got to be an autopsy studied on him, on because that
Oh,
is like a superpower to push through what everything he's pushed through. Because I mean, there is a certain line of BS that your brain is naturally wired to tell you to quit before you can. Like that's
100%.
where you got to push through, and if you want
Wow.
results, especially in fitness, you got to
Mhm.
know. Because I used to say, I can't run this far, but no, I could run a lot farther if I did it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do appreciate that part.
Yeah, I love him. Actually, I mentioned him in my book too. And I would think of him also when I was working out because, especially towards the end when I was prepping for my contest and I was just running pretty much, I felt like on fumes that I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, I just can't do it. Like, I'm like, stop, Abby. Like, I would just do this self talk. Like, what would David Goggins do?
Yeah,
And
right.
you
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
that. And sometimes it's whatever your formula is. So,
Mm-hmm.
do you believe, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, but we're kind of fusing two topics together. So it's inevitable that some of it's going to be repetitive. But do you believe
Mm-hmm.
that mental toughness is built through pain, through discipline, or something else?
Uh, Kinda. I kind of agree with those things. Mental toughness to me is like you're basically learning how to manage things. The more they come in, the how often, the severity. Uh, but you're just learning how to like put it in storage too. But it does help a lot. The pain, being an empath and feeling others' pain too much, I don't think that's completely necessary. You can definitely be there to help people out, but uh, you still have to manage it and take that home with you in a certain way, and you got to still carry on in a certain way. So yeah, I would agree with you because you can't have one without the other. Yin and yang. You got to have pain to in order to grow and figure out how to deal with it. Because there's going to be there there will be, and I sigh because I'm like, gosh, there's going to be another storm coming eventually. There's no way around it.
Hmm.
So you're gonna have to be tough. And being a mother, you don't have time for excuses. You just do. You there's no I'll take a day off. Like that's being a mother to me is the toughest thing.
Hmm.
And I just can't imagine, especially if you have multiple kids. But you have to be tough for them and not really show weakness too. So you got to put on that face so that they feel safe. So that to me, there's nobody more mentally tough than mothers.
Yeah. Well, we like that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is true, and I think a lot of that is just the instinct too, and I actually did a post today on
Yeah.
Facebook on my Your Fitness Chick group page that said I posted a picture of my son. He was actually home. He lives in Georgia now. He's almost
Mm.
25, and he was with me for like 4 nights, and I'm gonna tell you what, when your grown children leave the nest and when they come back and stay with you, I was just
Right.
in my pure bliss for like 4 nights. I'm like, "Okay, what
Yeah.
are we gonna do now? Are we gonna
Yeah.
make
Right.
cookies and
Right.
you want some sprinkles on
Yeah.
your pancakes? Like, what are we gonna do?"
So
But in the
yeah.
post of today, I put, um, "Do you pride yourself on being low maintenance? Because if you do, there's a cost for that." And I explained in
Mm.
it with the picture of my son and I that he was with me this week, and that as a parent, we put our kids first. I think most parents do that. And
Mm-hmm.
they make you become a better person. They can make you become mentally tough because you have to
Mm-hmm.
do what you have to do to protect them, to provide them with the life that you want them to have, to guide them even when you're running
Mm-hmm.
on fumes and you can hardly guide yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with you that mental toughness, it's built through a lot of things, and I think everybody's formula is different. But
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I think pain and discipline are big contributors to it.
Oh yeah. 100% agree.
Yeah. So, as we're starting to close here, what advice would you give? I mean, people are listening and going, "Oh, yeah, that sounds so good," but maybe they're stuck in a position that we were, years ago or at one time where maybe they don't even want to listen to this and they're feeling hopeless, they're feeling doubtful, they're feeling depressed, they're not seeing the light, they can't find the
Mm-hmm.
connection, they feel like they're alone. What advice would you give to someone who feels like they're stuck in this self-sabotaging loop? Not necessarily alcohol, but not becoming their best selves. What advice would you
Mm-hmm.
give them to help them to break free?
So, in order to enact change, you have to be two things: humble and hungry. Um, and those people that are stuck in ruts are mostly because of their own doing, because they refuse to have an open mind. They refuse to listen. So I have a tough love approach to it. Um, so it you just basically ask them, when will enough be enough? What will it take? Your choice. It all depends on you when you want to change. Either you're going to choose to be humble and hungry now, or the good Lord will do that for you. So, and you don't want to wait for the good Lord to do that for you, because it
Yeah,
may be a lot worse. So
right.
yeah, I have a tough love approach to it, because you see it too often. And a lot of people who have came to me asking for advice, they still have like this, and I get it too, because I was like this. They still have this, I have a better plan. It's not going to work for me. That it, and I totally get it, but eventually you're going to be desperate enough to try anything. So,
Yeah,
but that's up to you when you want it.
right. They have to get sick enough of their own self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to really, and you have to really just look yourself in the mirror and go, is this it? Is this really,
Yeah.
is this really it? And, I'm
Yeah.
ahead of you a little bit. I'm 50. So, I think, I've never regretted or dreaded having a birthday. I'm very grateful for every year I'm on this earth. I'm very thankful
Oh
for
yeah.
that. But I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
tell you, at age 49, when 50 was coming, it kind of, it kind of not scared me a little bit. I would say woke me up a little bit more. The fact that I have probably less years ahead of me than I do behind me. And so I'm going to make them the best that I can, and I think that we take life for granted. So many people take life for granted that they think,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the average age is 80. That means I have this many years. But I was reading something earlier and it said something like, okay, well, let's say that that's true. If you're lucky, that means you only have 30 more summers. And if you
Mm-hmm.
only see your one friend every few years, you only get to see them 10 more times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you just really start to put things in perspective like that, I think that, you start looking at your life every day a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm depressed. Yeah, because because now I'm thinking, like, gosh, I wish my friends weren't so stubborn. Like, why won't they come visit me? I would like to see them more often, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but no, and for one, I believe having the quality of life too. I mean, you can still have 100 more summers. God knows what
Right.
AI is going to do. We're going to transcend time, but it's
Right.
the quality of life what you're going to have. I'd rather
Right.
have 5 good quality summers versus 30 bad ones. So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, that's all the choices we make daily.
100%. That's why I
Hmm.
work out like a crazy lady. Um,
Yeah, doing fantastic too.
I
So
love it. I love it so much. I
mm,
mean, it sounds funny, but I mean, again, everybody has their coping mechanisms and their outlets and stuff. But when you stop drinking as much, I mean, I still drink sometimes, but nothing like what I used to. Um, but when I'm working out now, like I get teary eyed when I'm in there sometimes.
don't you?
And
Those are the best. Those are the best.
some people might be like, "What the hell's wrong with you? Are you crying because
Hmm.
you're here?" And I'm crying
Yeah.
because I can be here. Like I get such
Yes.
gratitude. Like just yesterday, I
Hmm.
had the day off from my day spa job. I'm working on my fitness stuff, but I had a good strong hour and a half workout.
Hmm.
And I live in this beautiful community. I have this beautiful gym. I literally don't even have to go outside. I can walk downstairs and there's a 24/7 gym. It's only 3 years old. It's beautiful. And
Right.
there's hardly ever anybody there. And I'm thinking, oh
Right.
my God, I am so
Yeah.
lucky. Like I just love
Yeah.
this so, much. And that's my dopamine hit now.
Sure. Yeah. Then that's so like. it even looking good or whatever, that's almost now a byproduct of why we
100%.
do it. We do it mostly for mental. Like
Yes.
there's nothing better, me personally, to do running because it focuses me. It finally gets all these things down to one narrow lane, and I'm just focusing on my breathing and what I'm listening to. But I love those kinds of workouts to where a song
Mhm.
will hit you at the right time,
Yes.
and you're just
Yes.
like, oh yeah, that you're just overflowing, and then that runner's high, and you're like,
Oh
gosh,
yeah.
today's a good day, you know. So mm-hmm,
It's awesome. It's indescribable. If you haven't experienced it, it's pretty amazing.
mm-hmm.
So, Charlie, if you could speak to your past self, the person you were, let's see, you're 36, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were 21,
Ooh.
if you could speak to your past self in one sentence, what would you say?
I wouldn't say anything. I do not want to influence anything that I went through. I 100% believe that I've learned the way I needed to learn. I Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. So I would also hope my future self wouldn't come back to now to try and influence anything. But I would like to know if the Lions win a Super Bowl so I could finally be at peace for that. I mean, come on, we're so close, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready for this. Then I
Oh
could die
my God.
happy. I would take one Super Bowl and then I'm good. I'm good. That's it. Bury
Oh
me.
my God. My son would love you. He's a huge Detroit Lions fan. And
My man.
he's a big Vegas fan too. And him and his dad went out last year and he put some money down. He was
Yeah.
praying for a miracle, but it didn't happen. But
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe someday. Maybe
Yeah. I feel
someday.
it. I feel it.
Well, I actually love that. That's actually a surprise because most people always have something to say to their younger self. But I love that
Sure.
because even though we went through a lot of hell, like everybody does, it's inevitable. People are going to go
Hmm.
through stuff in your life. It makes you
Yeah.
become who you are meant to be.
Exactly. And I love who I am. Not
Yeah.
to sound pretentious, but I do love who I am, and I
And you
love
should.
how there's no ceiling on how much. I mean, being religious, Jesus
Mhm,
Christ is the end all be all, and if we can try
mhm.
to be like him every single day, this world would be a better place. So
There you
that
go.
there's no ceiling to that. So to be able if there was such thing as perfection, gosh, that's depressing in itself. It's like, so you can actually get to a point, then what? Like, there's nothing left to do. So I'm glad
Yeah.
there's no such thing.
Yeah. Always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you're like that. That's awesome. So,
Mm-hmm.
what does your breakthrough era look like today, and what's next for you, Charlie? Where do you see yourself? Obviously, if we stop and think about how far you've come in the last 15 years, what do you think your next 15 years look like?
Yeah, I
Besides the
wouldn't
Detroit Lions
believe.
winning the Super Bowl.
Well, if they need to put me in, I mean, I'll be a hell of a water boy. But or wipe the sweat, whatever I got to do for free. Uh, but I I wouldn't have believed I'm definitely where I'm at now. And things just continue to happen and things continue to challenge me. So that excites me every single day, especially owning a
Mm,
business, as I'm
mm,
sure you're aware of. There's,
yeah.
uh, constantly changing things, trends,
Mhm,
supplements, this, that,
mhm,
and you got to do your research constantly. And especially with
mhm,
AI and how things are
mhm,
advancing, there's going to be so much better things in the next couple years. So,
mhm.
but right now, I'm very active in my community. Um, I really have a lot of fun donating my time to certain places and being a part of those. Uh, but right now, like I said, I am doing tennis, so I'm wanting to do tournaments. I want to see how good I could become on that. I am running marathons, and January I'm signing up to do a 50 miler. I get choked up. I'm doing a
Oh my
50
God.
miler in Clearwater. So they got one going on then. So I want
Wow,
to, and
amazing.
so I like doing marathons because I can get better at in my timing. And I don't want to do them just to do them because I know I can do them, but I like to get better at it. But a 50 miler, I don't know if I can do it because you are challenged in so many other different ways because you're going to become
Yeah.
dehydrated. You're going to
Yeah.
be depleted of vitamins and stuff. Now it's going to be of how far can you go being depleted? Like,
Yeah.
so that stuff really fascinates me. So, but
Or
yeah.
reading
And,
about the stuff that you need to take while you're doing it, like
oh
those
yeah,
squeeze gel stuff and all that
I
to
hate
keep you
that
going.
stuff, but yeah, you
I
have
know.
to. Yeah.
You gotta.
And then who knows? I also toyed around with the idea of running for office someday.
Oh
So,
my God, amazing.
because yeah, I mean, you think about like, I want a lot of change. I want people to carry themselves with more grace, especially politically. And instead of complaining about it, why not me? Right? Who knows? So maybe I'll become the next mosquito control guy. I don't know. Maybe next representative. I don't know. But, or the voter
Uh,
registration guy. I don't know. We'll
well,
see.
I'd vote for you.
Thank you.
Well, I love that. I love your excitement for life. I think you should be so proud of yourself that you have done what you've done, that you've come from where you've come from, and that you are your biggest hero. And
Mm-hmm.
I applaud you so much on that. And the thing I really, really like about you, without like knowing you, is
Mm-hmm.
that you're living your life. You're not
Yeah.
existing. You're grabbing it by the
Mm-hmm.
kahunas and you're like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people that are like that these days. So I think
No.
that's incredible. I think you're an awesome
Mm-hmm.
person, and just keep inspiring everybody because it's a wonderful thing that you're doing.
Hey, you as well. I always, when I catch your posts and stuff, I always like to share it because a lot of it hits, a lot of it's true, a lot of it's relatable. And I'm very inspired by the way you speak. And when you do, these cooking tutorials or something, like you have like this flow to you that I'm so jealous of because like I'll try to do certain things or I'll speak at events and I'm trying to do the like, not say or say like a lot, like and you have a point. Like usually if this wasn't your podcast, my podcast would be like what is he even talking about at this point? We're 3.5 hours in, right? Like we started here and now we're having a party. So I don't know, but no, I really you're inspiring in yourself. So
Well, thank you. Well, it's really kind of funny because I do stutter a lot of times too, but I've gotten a lot better. And I talk about it in my book, shameless plug, is
mm-hmm.
that when I first started public speaking, I was awful at it. I was terrible at
Oh
it.
really?
And I had got introduced to the corporate world and I had to give this big speech. I had to teach a class actually in front of, I
Mm-hmm.
think there was 30 people. And I did not know what the hell I was talking about. So I was like, how am I going to do this? And so I relied on my PowerPoint like it was
Mm-hmm.
Jesus himself. I was like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then each
Oh.
time I had to keep doing that, I would get better. But in
Mm-hmm.
closing, like we talked about, everything that happens in your life brings you to the moments that you're supposed to be in. So if I would never have had to have gone through that really kind of embarrassing time, because I most certainly did not do it perfectly, but
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to do what I do now today, So I think it's
Right.
awesome how the universe lines it all up for us. So thank you for
Oh.
being such a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for your time and for being on the show. And maybe we'll have to have you on again.
Hey, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Your Fitness Chick podcast. As always, I'm here to inspire, uplift, educate, and motivate you to become your best self. Hey, it's Abby, your fitness chick. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Your support means the world to me and allows me to keep creating inspiring content just like this. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so we can stay connected and motivated all week long. You can find me on all my social media platforms. Links are in the show notes, and be sure to visit my website at www.yourfitnesschick.com for more resources to help you crush your goals. A huge thank you to you, my listeners. You inspire me every single day. I'll catch you in the next episode.